Okay, we are back, and I just went and watched The Batman, and I have to say, all my fears came true. I posted a video just 2 days ago that talked about what I was expecting, and yes, everything you see in the trailers that they have shown so far, the penguin car chase, the shooting up the staircase scene, the fighting with Catwoman, the teaser trailer where he beats down the guys in the subway and I am vengeance. Everything you see in the trailers are the action sequences. This movie is 2 hours and 55 minutes and it's boring. Okay. Matt Reeves said that this was his director's cut, that there would be no Snyder cut or Air cut or any kind of cut like that. This was his director's cut. Well, I'll be honest with you. I would have cut this movie down to 2 hours and 15 minutes. 2 hours and 55 minutes is just ridiculous for this movie. One of the things that they constantly did throughout the film was hold on shots, completely unnecessary and with nothing going on. And you're like, okay. Robert Pattinson did a great job as Batman, other than the fact that there was no distinguishing him between Bruce Wayne. It was the same mopey guy. So much that, and I'm going to go into some spoilers here. There was a scene when Batman first walks into the club, and Batman always seems to kind of turn his head a little sideways as he walks, and he walks really slow. And then there was a scene where Bruce Wayne goes to meet Falcone, and he's walking towards him slow with his head turned like this. And I thought to myself, Falcone already saw who Batman was. It's pretty obvious. Oh, that's the same walk. That's the same head tilt. Bruce Wayne's Batman. Like, that would have been the aha moment. There was a lot of back and forth with this Maroni, Falcone, Maroni did it. He was the drug dealer. Falcone was the drug dealer. Falcone was the murderer. It was this back and forth that, like, it got confusing trying to figure out who they were talking about when they were doing the detective work. Paul Dano did a great job as the Riddler, other than the costume is just, it's boring. It's just, blah. The Batmobile, blah. The chemistry between Selena Kyle and Batman, was it there? I don't know. When they went detective noir with this, much like Ridley Scott's Blade Runner was detective noir, where you had the narration, like the old black and white movies, detective movies. Well, where you're just seeing a scene and you hear, well, this dame walked into my heart and that kind of stuff. Batman narrates the beginning of the film. And then there's never any narration for any of the rest of it. So it's like they introduce this element of noir, and then the detective stuff with the narration, and you expected that at the end of the movie when he rides off into the city on his motorcycle, that there would be something there, that he would give some sort of clue about what's to come. In the climactic scene at the end, if you call it that, the third act dragged so bad. The first two acts were good, but the third act just dragged. The climactic scene at the end, Batman has to be saved by Catwoman. She saves him. Okay. So Batman's, and I don't want to go, but a woman had to come save him. And I didn't want to see, the problem is when they do this type of writing, you can do it without spoon feeding all the messaging. Okay. And this is something that I was disappointed with, that there was a lot of messaging. Catwoman makes a comment about Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne and how, white privilege, destroyed the city and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, man, you're just throwing these narratives in. And I was hoping that the movie, after seeing like Spider-Man No Way Home or some of the stuff that's going on with the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker, that they wouldn't go, with some of the wokeisms in there. And I'm not a guy that likes to throw that out, leave that to the geeks and gamers and all those guys to trash movies. But it had some of those elements in it that were just obvious. Like, if you're going to put that in, you write it in to where you don't notice it. But then when you just have to shove it down someone's mouth, you're virtue signaling. And that's really, it's just terrible. The score was awful. It really is just like that trailer. Dome, 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 dome. And that went on in the beginning of the movie forever. In all the scenes, there was no change up. There was no excitement. The whole movie is just brooding. It really is depressing. Batman, one of the comments one of my friends at the theater said, Batman's the smartest guy in the room, but in this movie he wasn't really the smartest guy in the room. And every time he'd have to go to a crime scene, he'd have to come visit it again later to find a clue he missed. And that's, I get it, they had this, they had the Cody, the Zodiac thing in there with the ciphers and all this kind of stuff, but man, they just really 2 hours and 15 minutes, and this movie would have been solid. 2 hours and 55 minutes. This movie dragged. It was boring. I was just waiting for the next thing to happen. Alfred, they get Andy Serkis, and he's wasted. He's in 3 scenes in the movie, and absolutely like a Snoke. He's in it, and it's almost insignificant until this one part at the end. And then basically Alfred's a flawed character, who's been lying his whole life to Bruce about how shitty. And that's the other thing about the story that I didn't like. The thing I liked about the Nolan verse was this thing about Thomas Wayne being a good man, reaching down when he fell into the cave, into the well, saying, we fall down because we pick ourselves up. And, his father was this doctor and really loved the city and, wanted to do all these great things. But this Thomas Wayne's an asshole. And, he hired Falcone to rough up a reporter that was digging in on him, and they wind up killing him. So then he felt guilty, and I hired a hitman to kill. It's like they had to make Thomas Wayne an asshole, and you didn't have to do that. You did not have to do that. Batman could still do the things he did because his parents were murdered. But by making Thomas Wayne out to be a white billionaire with white privilege that, didn't care about the little people and just wanted to, hire a hitman to take out it's just garbage, all right. I don't stay for after the credits. There is no extra stuff. They say there's extra stuff after the credits. There is no extra stuff. It's just goodbye in the Riddler's text on the thing, like a computer. That's it. The whoever's playing the Joker, and I think I've seen him on the red carpet, this actor, there's a Joker reveal at the end. Awful Joker reveal. He looks terrible, and you don't get a good clear shot of him because he's in Arkham Asylum, in a window, but you see, it looked bad. And the laugh, there's nothing there, Jared Leto did a good laugh. Heath Ledger nailed his laugh. Jack Nicholson nailed his laugh, awful. This movie was terrible. Cinematography was great. All the cast and crew did what they could, with this movie. ILM did a lot of special effects. Weta did a lot of special effects. All that stuff's on par. But I'll leave it on this note. Early on, when they hired Matt Reeves, and he didn't like Ben Affleck's script, and he turned in his first draft, and Warner Brothers said, there's no action in this. We want you to add some action scenes into it. Clearly, the action scenes he added into it was the pointless Riddler or pointless Penguin chase with the car. Didn't have to be there. Didn't drive the story. Obvious, the fighting in the nightclub. He never needed to fight those guys in the nightclub. He could have just popped into the office of Falcone's, the subway thing, all the stuff you see in the trailer. Those are the action sequences. That's it. The rest of it is sleuthing, boring stuff. So disappointed in the Batman. 400 crew members worked on this. You guys did a fantastic job. You brought it. Everything was fine, but the story was terrible. The length of the runtime is terrible. 2 hours and 15 minutes, and you would have had a decent Batman film. This is not a good start for this series, and I know the critics are loving this thing, but I'm interested to see what the fall off will be after the next weekend, if it'll fall off 65%, or when the audience starts saying this thing's boring. It'll be very interesting to see how it shakes out in the next couple of weeks. This is a miss for me. It's a one-off. I'm never watching this movie again. And there you go. What did you guys think of The Batman? Let's talk about it in the comment section.